Authority of Cabarrus County.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome back. Okay, Wendy, you want to tell us about 28th year?
I'm happy to present our 28th consecutive year of receiving our Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association. And this is for our annual financial report that we do every year. And of course, I'd like to thank the Finance Department for all the hard work in getting this. This is the highest achievement we can get for financial reporting.
Great job, great job.
A lot of pressure when it's 28 straight.
Glad to know it wasn't just Michael.
You made such a big deal about
Real tough, it stops at 7.
Right after.
Okay, we will temporarily delay the minutes until Jennifer gets here. So we'll go into our work session topic. Chad, want to lead us in that discussion about treatment plant?
Yeah, so not a lot here this month, like we talked about last month. We're going to keep this as a standard agenda item to continue this moving forward of this discussion of working our way down this kind of new path into figuring out the amount of capacity that each jurisdiction needs and the amount of capacity that ultimately that WSACC needs to construct to support growth on into the future. I have heard back from several jurisdictions and talking. I think the two common things that I hear is a little more financial information on the impacts that this is going to have. So I do have some information tonight to hand out that we will also ultimately send to you electronically as well for us to discuss. The other item that I hear is that originally, like last month, it was kind of thrown out that, hey, maybe 3 months, we can kind of have numbers to come back. And I think that's kind of playing out to with some of the jurisdictions that's probably not enough time, that it's probably going to take a little more back and forth, a little more understanding, a little more calculation worked through, whatever words you want to use to describe it to get to that number. So with that, the biggest thing I want to let the board know is this is not a can we want to kick way down the road, but we do have Brown and Caldwell working on the conceptual designs at Rocky River. That's going to take till the end of the year, maybe January, till that's ready to move forward on whatever we may decide. With that being the case, we also have talked about that the next, to go from 34 to 36, we kind of need to get towards the tail end of phase 4. So we do that to get that capacity, and that kind of needs to be done first before we do any other construction. So should we get to a point in January that we're not quite sure what we're going to want to do next, and we want to hold the design off for a couple months before we push it forward, or if we feel comfortable, hey, 45 is going to be the number, we just don't really understand how this equity is all going to get split up, we could move them forward. We'll have some options at that point, but I don't think we're going to risk our critical path of getting capacity online if we take more than 3 months to make this decision.
And remind me, Chad, with the extra 2 from 34 to 36, we've not made a decision on that. Although I feel like that doesn't affect any future decisions, right? That's kind of independent.
Right. It's independent. I mean, I would think the benefits of being able to do that are coming from the expenses that have taken place in phase 3 and phase 4. So I would imagine you would probably follow a similar equity model to that, because those expenses have kind of led to that being able to be done. The new model we're looking at, I pictured more for the next big jump. That's obviously up for board's decision, but that's what I kind of had in mind.
And maybe you're going to get into this with the financials, but what's the cost of the the 2 million from 34 to 36?
We've heard 30 to 40 million. A big thing we have up in the air right now is the state has come back to us on our speculative limits above that nutrients are going to be a factor in those, and that's new over the last couple of months. We are pushing the state hard, and I think we will succeed in having that not be implemented on the 36 MGD permit. because we're really not putting in the any new infrastructure that would help us to meet those limits. If that's the case, that's probably a 30 or $40 million project. And it's a project that Wendy and myself feel like probably will be fine to be constructed without debt, without new debt to go to that 2 MGD. It will be the capacity on top of that, the next step that will be the next big debt issuance most likely.
Right. Yeah, I know I had connection issues at the June meeting, but that was kind of what I was getting at there was I think that 2 fits under our current agreement pretty easily. And I think it'd be difficult to take it out of that current mix, especially since there's not due debt. It's all the debt's issued. After that, we got some work to do.
So what I don't want to have happen is that we have some months here where nothing happens. I want to keep things, we want to keep things moving and us not feel so secure in time that we just kind of lose some time here. So I want to keep this as an active item that we're discussing. Again, I want to offer, and I know next week, I think Thomas is and I may be able to be there as well next week at Concord to make a presentation. We're going to the county tonight. We're off, anything you need from us, myself or staff, to help you and your staff and boards as y'all move through this, please don't hesitate to reach out on that. And we'll hopefully over the next meeting or two be able to start getting a feel of what this timetable is going to look at. And what I was discussing is one thing that's become very obvious is that probably that 2 to 3 months figuring out a number things not reasonable, that's probably going to take longer than that. And that's fine. So we're just going to have to figure out and work through that with maybe more of an end of the year goal being more reasonable.
Not a 3-month target.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll see as we work through that. Like I said, the second thing was kind of some financial looks. We're going to send this out electronically as well. Just pass those down.
Josh.
Yeah. When did you have it that you could shoot it?
I'm sorry, what?
We're taking a look at some financial numbers and the impacts that they have based on the amount of kind of capacity that you would want to request, or any our jurisdictions would want to request as we move forward with this capacity. The best way Wendy and myself came up to do this was to break it down on a annual debt cost per million gallons of capacity that you took on. So if you look at the top, we're still holding at that $490 million number. Those nutrients that we just talked about very well inflate that number some. It's not going to double it. It's not going to increase it by that range, but it could add $50 million to it, or some fairly significant number to that. But Wendy had these numbers ran at a 3% and a 5% rate. We feel like we will be somewhere in between those most likely, but that kind of gives you a range. So that number, 3.1 million and 3.8 million, is the annual debt service based on a 25-year borrowing window. It would be an increase to the fixed cost of the jurisdiction per 1 MGD. Then those numbers, obviously, you can interpolate if you want 1.5, or you want 1/2, or you want something of that to give you some ranges. We also included here the chart showing current year total variable and fixed rate charges that each jurisdiction is paying to WSACC and the 27-28 estimate. So their variable rates have been increased 3% annually, but that includes the final total amount with phase 4 numbers. So those numbers would kind of hold still from a fixed rate charge in that 27-28 chart out until 2040 something, until that debt started rolling off. So that gives each jurisdiction a feel of, well, if I took on 2 MGD of capacity at 5% interest, well, I'm going to see 7.7 million gallons a day of increased yearly cost to WSACC, and how that mirrors to what you're paying now. So this is something I imagine we're just going to keep building on. and
Specific.
providing more information as we go, but does this kind of give a high level feel of what some of these,
You know, I'll be able, like, we've been very specific in our numbers and
Yeah.
and have them in advance, but it's, you know, we would just put this type of thing into our CIP and discuss this through our budget process. What are we willing to do to our rates in order to cover $7 million? You know, we want two MGD Harrisburg, you know, just throw a round number out there. You know, we need to account for $7.8 million a year in that budget to cover that.
Mhm.
Obviously, it isn't gonna be tomorrow. We're not gonna build this all tomorrow, but whenever we bring this online, we've got to be willing to take that debt on. And what does that look like to our ratepayers? And, you know, we have other capital projects that add to this as well, but that's the kind of specific discussion we have to be able to have at the board level in the budget process so that we can, you know, figure out our utility.
That's exactly what we need. Plug it in our rate model and continue the conversations.
Okay.
This is great. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Wendy.
well-
This is perfect.
and we will, like I said, we'll send this out tomorrow. All board members and everything, so you'll have it. This is just looking at the cost associated with the Rocky River expansion. Obviously, we're not talking anything here Muddy Creek wise or anything else, because the Muddy Creek, we do have the state funding and other funding mechanisms. We're not anticipating having to borrow for down there to do anything at Muddy Creek. So this is specifically looking at an assumption that we do the 45 MGD option of expansion at Rocky River, nothing else with remote plants or new plants or package plants. We're just looking at that option right now. And where that would come into play is if the numbers were to come back from jurisdictions that, you know, 11 million gallons, which is what we would get between the 2 MGD and the 9 MGD is more than the jurisdictions, is significantly more than the jurisdictions say that they want. Then we might want to back up and look at, well, what other options do we have versus biting off this big chunk, which if anything should be more cost effective than what we're looking at because of the, you know, the challenges of this 45 MGD expansion at Rocky River and the costs associated with it. So I think this is looking at everything worst case from a financial impact, cost per million gallons kind of a standpoint. But obviously, when you get into it, if you have questions, just reach out and we can pull anything else together. And, this would be my goal as we move through this, that each month we kind of meet together and we've got another required source of information that helps you guys make your decisions as y'all move through this. So,
Okay,
all right.
any questions?
So the nutrient limitations you're talking about, Chad, what are they tied to? I mean, is this
So,
gonna be legislated statewide and
So-
tied to capacity?
Yeah, Hewlett Falls Lake, which is on the PD south of Lake Tillery, is the last lake on the PD base, the Yadkin PD before going into South Carolina, has been on the has been listed for nutrient impacts. From what I understand, it's kind of on that balancing act of coming off the list, but I'm not sure where. It's close to coming off the list, but still being on the list. What they want is they don't want it to come off the list and then 2 years later go back on the list. And so they're trying to cap the nutrient loading that's going into the Hewlett Falls reservoir on the Yadkin PD. So they're looking at dischargers as ourselves and trying to cap us at where we're at, and so it doesn't get worse.
So is it only the Yadkin PD?
It's only, yes, the Yadkin PD and Rocky River basins that feed into that. And that's the way nutrients are handled. So just like the Catawba, almost all the Catawba is nutrient sensitive. So almost all dischargers into the Catawba Basin have nutrient limits, and we haven't within the Rocky River, but the Yadkin that's becoming a bigger issue on the Yadkin. So, okay.
Other questions? Yeah, this is helpful. Move in the right direction.
Right.
All right, any updates from
Um,
other topics?
I do have a one real good update on the plant on phase 4 work. Aeration Basin number 5, which is the first existing basin that's being upfitted of the 3 basins there was brought online last week. Is that right, James? Yes. Last week. It is performing really well. It's running great. The original schedule, we actually had them taking basin 4 down, disconnecting it, starting taking it down in September, and they're beginning that work next week. So that puts us a couple months ahead there on those basins, which is obviously something we hope to replicate on all 3 of them. But either way, it gives us a buffer if we find something unexpected as we move through those basins. But from what I understand, the subcontractor that's doing that concrete work and doing the work in those basins is just killing it. Like they're just knocking it out. And so everything there on phase 4 is really moving along really nice. And so that's obviously really good news. The other item that I had to talk about that was not on here, it kind of came up last minute because we weren't, kind of sprung up on us, is to talk about the Red Bull capacity, the flow acceptance to Red Bull. That was originally issued late 2021. Fired, in 23, we extended it. It's back to that point now where it needs to be extended again. It's my understanding from the parties involved that that's moving along pretty quickly now, that they're going to start breaking ground pretty soon on that. So we wanted to go ahead and felt it was the right thing to do, to go ahead and extend that again, reissue that again, but wanted to get the board kind of approval on that before we just did that as staff. Because the board had approved that in the past, and I just wanted to open that up for any questions or discussions. And
What kind of extension? Is there a specific?
in the past, we had done a series of short extensions, and my understanding, Concord had kind of wanted that to keep some pressure on Red Bull. So they didn't just think like, okay, now we've got 2 years, we can whatever. We did those in a series, I think 6-month extensions. Is that right?
They varied in length, but they were shorter than 2 years for each.
Yes. So we have every option on that. We can do another 2 year, we can do 6 months, we can do a year, we can do whatever. I think all indications are that they are,
All indications are that
that
we
they're
are
moving.
actually seeing something soon. So,
And if I remember correctly, all we had to do is kind of have our consensus. Staff could do this, but we don't necessarily we don't have to formally.
Correct, yeah, it's a staff level decision, but I think when Michael was here and Chad, that we just want to make sure the board has consensus to support that.
And we had talked about doing something with that capacity, but I don't think we ever did. Did we just kind of leave it?
Yeah, that capacity was left.
How soon is soon, do we think? And I know they're driving you more
I
mad
would
than
love to
anybody.
give you an answer to that. I would say if we extended a year, that would feel very comfortable from what we're hearing. So, and if you guys if you feel more comfortable with 6 months, and we'll come back in 6 months and give you an update as well. So,
I think a year would be.
Do you have any concerns about that?
No, I mean, this is a project we committed to. I am concerned we committed to it 5 years ago. That is what it is. We all have those projects that do this to us. So.
Sounds like Jennifer keeps her gold shovel in her car.
Ready.
I even put the bow on it
Yeah.
last year. So maybe one day. I feel more comfortable after the conversations that we've just had than I have in a while. So if that's helpful. Thank you.
All right.
We'll extend it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, all right. Let's back up and do some unfinished business. Now I have a quorum. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from June 18th, 2025?
So moved.
Motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are passed. We'll open up the floor for any public comments. If there's anybody in the audience that'd like to speak to the board about any topic. Hearing none, we will move on. And we have a closed session. Should be a really quick closed session. So do I have is that all you have? Okay. Do I have a motion, going to closed session under GS 143, 318.11A1?
So moved.
Motion, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All right. Right. Thanks for being with us and filling in.
So much.